nights. We used to go for an hour.
Maybe in the past. That was when you were a bit leaner and handsome, and there were women everywhere.
But seriously, it got less when our daughter Anna was born. That's when we stopped.
But Hermann stayed faithful to his Helga and cooked traditional Swabian food for her.
I roll out the potato dough and cover it in lard. Then I roll it up and put it in the pot. Next I cover it in milk or cream and bake it in the oven. We did that a few times, but that's quite a heavy meal. Swabian cuisine tends to be super heavy. Although my figure is past it, I tend to cook light and fresh food now, instead of using a lot of lard and cream. I've thought about why I spend 10, 12 hours a day here. I could definitely relax a bit. I have a fantastic team and they're quite capable, but on some level I need it.
The Zanzibar also houses the headquarters for Zanzibar merchandising. The textile department is having delivery problems.
Wir haben gestern Abend durch Zufall mitgekriegt, dass wir ganz viele Textilien nur noch 1, 2 Größen haben. Wo wir teilweise auch schon im Outlet verkaufen. Richtig. Ich fände das korrekt, wenn wir die dann auch im Internet zu dem Preis reinsetzen.
He has 14 employees and his turnover is in the millions. Zanzibar tableware, fashion and wine are sought after around the world.
We once had an employee who had no sense of scale. The boxes arrived, but then the bottles didn't fit anymore.
Here too, Herbert Zeckler has to be able to keep an eye on everything. He only trusts his instincts.
Und die hat das irgendwie verpennt. Weil das Meer unheimlich im Sommer aufgefallen.
That includes keeping an eye on the beach to see what the young folk are wearing.
Oha, was haben wir denn da Schönes? Schön Schwertfischquoten.
Herbert Zeckler buys fresh fish 5 times a week. Zanzibar is a major customer.
Und, ist da was für euch?
Das ist gut.
Mächtig, ja, ne?
Das ist lecker.
He makes sure there's always enough lobster available for his guests.
Man denkt, man ist hier am Wasser.
You think because you're on the water you'll always have fresh fish, but there's no fishing industry on Sylt anymore. The coastal fishermen here are from Holland.
The specialist dealers managed to supply him with the most unusual fish at top quality.
Die sind irre, wie frisch die kommen. Irgendwie wundersticht der schon.
Und dann? Ja.
He became an absolute gourmet here on the island.
In Frankreich?
Ess ich voll gerne.
Ich auch. Ja, ne? Ich auch. Ist ein anderer Geschmack als...
So nussig.
Ja, der hat so einen richtig tollen Eigengeschmack, so einen kräftigen Eigengeschmack. Genau.
Hat der logisch Weltklasse.
Ja.
Christian Lorentzen has been part of it from the start. He started as a waiter, and for years now he's been hiring out basketwork beach chairs. He's been part of Zanzibar for 30 years.
Herbert must have fired me at least 10 times, and then his wife rehired me. Later it was the other way around. She fired me, and he rehired me. It's been a real roller coaster ride over the years. When Zanzibar burned down in 1982, I was woken up by the boss at 4:30 in the morning. He told me we had to get down to Zanzibar because there was a fire.
After 4 years, the dream was over. Herbert Zeckler had just renovated the restaurant, but he hadn't paid the contractor yet.
I drove to Kiel. I was shaking. I knew I was done. I was bankrupt. I sat down in his office and said, "My insurance company won't pay. You put 200,000-300,000 marks into my restaurant. I can't pay you back." He went pale. He changed colours like a chameleon. But then he looked at me and said, "The chic of it." But he thought it was great that I was sitting there. He wanted money once a week, and I wouldn't have to pay interest for a year.
Einmal die Woche Geld und ein Jahr kriege ich das zinsfrei.
He could only do that if Zanzibar were rebuilt. Herbert Zeckler had to go into even more debt.
Die neue Hütte hat ja
The new hut, even a very basic hut, cost $1 million. Then we didn't have any income for a whole summer. I was so bankrupt you can't even imagine. The bailiff was my best friend. Nobody talked to me more than the bailiff.
keiner hat so viel mit mir geredet wie der Gerichtsvollzieher.
War eine harte Zeit.
It was a tough time, but it was also a nice time. Depends on your perspective. Some people talk about karma, others say fate. It was meant to be.
Und wenn man mal sieht,
If you look at the conditions we worked under, my wife and a cousin spent a whole year cooking all by themselves.
haben ganz alleine gekocht und das Sachen gemacht.
Zanzibar flourished with the new build. The Zult hut became a fashionable meeting place, but the new clientele wasn't easy.
Denken Sie, wie viele Leute
Just guess how many people complained just so they didn't have to pay. It was unbelievable, ruthless. That really teaches you to be very meticulous. You do everything exactly the way people want it.
schon aufzupassen, dass nichts passiert. Und dass du wirklich das genauso machst wie die
You can't argue with them because you can't win.
Du bist immer zweiter Sieger.
The customer is king. Herbert hammered that message into himself and his employees. His fortunes changed.
When the older customers come, the ones who were really bad back in those days, and say, it used to be so nice, then I think you're crazy. I really have to stop myself from saying, back in the old days, all you did was complain.
Jetzt hast du nur gemeckert.
Wine lover Zeckler realized he was able to make a lot of money here with his tastes. He built the first and largest wine cellar in the dunes under Zanzibar.
Das Hauptproblem wie überall war
The main problem, like everywhere, was getting permission to build this. Without exaggeration, I think we battled for between 5 and 8 years before we got permission to build this extension. With a lot of luck and hard work, we managed to build it in the sand.
Und mit viel Glück und Aufwand haben wir dann das wirklich unter das Haus
Sand behaves like water. It flows.
wie Wasser, das rieselt dauernd nach.
The hard-working southerner managed the change from beach bistro to the most frequented restaurant in Germany. Herbert Zeckler managed to use the charm of his fancy establishment to attract every holidaymaker in Zult. Today, even his sausages are considered a culinary revelation.
Ich hab halt, sag mal,
My style was quite casual, even 30 years ago. Maybe that was because I didn't have the money to provide uniforms for my staff. Or maybe it was because I already liked that style back then.
Zanzibar is taken for granted as the place to eat on this celebrity island. Herbert Zeckler is proud of his guests.
sag mal, ich bin jetzt wirklich,
I've become really good friends with some of them. In the past, I would have almost given up. But now I've developed quite a few friendships.
freundschaftliches Verhältnis fast schon. Aber es ist, ich habe das oft schon gesagt,
The people who are interesting are the ones you enjoy talking to.
interessant sind, mit denen unterhältst du dich ja gerne.
Cosmopolitan celebrities have some great stories to
Die haben
tell.
auch tolle Geschichten zu erzählen.
Auf dem Weg nach oben geht es manchmal schneller.
Sometimes it goes faster on the way to the top. But maintaining what you've got over the years, keeping the spoiled guests, making them happy, offering the same good quality, and making yourself and your restaurant interesting, that's phenomenal.
Interessant zu machen für seine Gäste, das ist ein Phänomen.
Zeckler is managing to market Zanzibar more and more successfully. It has even become a place for cruise ship passengers to visit. In return, he invites his friends on the ship to his annual reception. Former soccer star Günther Netzer has been one of Zeckler's regulars for years now. A relationship resembling friendship has developed between the two of them. Herbert Zeckler always manages to use his Swabian charm to get into conversations with his guests. He doesn't make a distinction between actual celebrities and wannabes.
Die Menschen sind nett.
They're either nice or not, interesting or not. It doesn't matter if they're on TV. I'm not in anybody's will. Why should I care about that?
Warum soll ich mich da